Welcome into another edition of the Scientific Method. And of course, got to bring it in like this. Patrik No C Walker of DallasCowboys.com. I would say good morning, bro, but it's been an interesting morning. More than anything.
It has been an interesting morning for both of us, man.
Yeah.
This Friday is wild, man.
Is it a full moon?
You know what?
Yo, it's Friday the 13th.
I think it's like, you know what? It is Friday the 13th.
Wow.
That's facts.
Wow.
That's facts. That explains it all.
If you guys only knew.
Now I know how to handle the rest of the day based upon that fact.
There we go.
Cool. Get my work in and take my ass home. That's what. Stay there for the rest. Stay there till Saturday the 14th.
Oh, well, you know what, brother? It felt like Sunday was Sunday the 13th, Friday the 13th type of feel, man, with the injuries and stuff that happened. And, you know, I joked about
Monday,
this.
Monday.
Or Monday, I'm sorry, my bad. Monday Night Football felt like Friday the 13th, right? And I joked about this over the last few weeks, but I don't think it's a joke anymore. I feel like every single week for the last 10 weeks, the Cowboys have lost somebody significant time or a significant player. And I don't remember the last time that's happened in a season, Pat, and it's just been a wild one.
No, bro, when I tell you that this, and I said this on Twitter, X and Blue Sky, I said that I've never seen anything like this in my history of watching sports, and especially the Cowboys. When you talk about, like you said, it feels like every week somebody goes down with an injury, and it's not just a role player. Oftentimes it's a key player, a cornerstone player, an impact starter.
Yeah.
But then you lose so many impact starters that you start turning to your practice squad, and then you find a gem on the practice squad like a Josh Butler, and guess what? You lose him for the season in the game after he has a breakout career game. So it's wild to me, and now here we are wondering week to week who's next, and I'm not posing that question as, being facetious. Like, every Cowboys fan agrees with me at this point. We're all feeling the same way. At this point, we're just trying to get through the remainder of the season without any more season-ending injuries, especially to guys that you need at the start of 2025. And then speaking of 2025, you will likely not have DeMarvion Overshown for the start of the season and maybe at any point during the season, but that's all to be determined at this point.
Yeah, well, speaking of DeMarvion Overshown, I sent this text to you, I think it was during the game previously against a Thanksgiving game. I was like, hey, man, I want to give you your flowers because if people go back and listen to our show, our segment during the off season, one of the bold prediction shows we did, you mentioned DeMarvion Overshown would finish the season as one of the top backers in the National Football League. And if he wasn't already, he was on his way, and I would be shocked if he didn't get any Pro Bowl consideration, whether it be reserve or whatnot. But I do want to toss some flowers to you there because you were spot on with that. And until that injury, man, he was on his way to having one of the best seasons at linebacker, productive seasons at linebacker since maybe LVE in 2018.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. And it's just something that I saw within that young man, and not simply his ability on the field. That speaks for itself, but his mentality as well, as far as how he attacks it, how he was attacking his rehab from the torn ACL in his left knee. And then, if you recall, I was saying that there was something about him that was different from, let's say, Michael Gallup, because I know a lot of fans, Michael Gallup took some time to get back. He never really got back. And one of the things I said was, I think that let's call it the ignorance of youth in a good way. The ignorance of youth when it comes to DeMarvion Overshown is that I didn't think that he knew that it was supposed to take him several weeks to get back to top form. I don't think he understood that he had not had a rookie season. And I said that he was going to fly out of the gates, and he did exactly that in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns, and he just kind of carried it from there. So I'm right there with you in the aspect of, I think, even though his season has been shortened, he's already delivered a Pro Bowl season for me. And I actually would be shocked if he, A, either got no Pro Bowl consideration, or B, didn't find his way into the Pro Bowl even as an alternate. Obviously, he can't participate, but I believe that his name needs to be there. He's definitely earned that. And if he was able to play these last 4 games out at the trajectory he was on, all-pro consideration had to be on the table as well. Just a massive massive, catastrophic loss for the Cowboys and catastrophic injury for that young man. But like I said in science lab yesterday, he'll be back.
Yeah, and with these injuries, it's giving opportunities for other guys. That's how we got the Josh Butlers. That's how we see the Brock Hoffmans. And I think the next guy that's coming up is
Maris
Leofau. Maris Leofau was up next, and he came in right away. I talked about this on Tuesday, and he made an impact. I mean, he only played a handful of snaps after Demo went down, or a handful of series after Demo went down, and he had 2 sacks, a sack and a half, but 2 sacks really. And in a game, you thought game-changing sack at the end, and I think he has something to maybe not be as good as Demo was, but not that far off from an impact standpoint of pressuring the quarterback. That's something that he's shown the ability to do.
Yeah, when it comes to Leofau, I'm definitely going to give him his credit because he was one that I said I'm going into this season. I didn't know how the rotation would work, particularly at the time going into training camp with Damone Clark, because we knew that Eric Kendricks was brought in to be a starter. We knew that DeMarvion Overshown was going to be unleashed as a starter. Didn't know what that rotation between Damone and Marist would look like, but Marist has just effectively beat out Damone to the point where Damone is becoming regularly inactive. Now, obviously, this week going forward, Damone will be on the field, but I don't think that he'll be eating into Marist Leofau snaps, especially when you talk about what we saw last week with that critical sack on Joe Burrow that then set up what eventually became like the 4th and 20 forever, the block punt, but then, the world kind of collapsed after that block punt. But that was all set up. One of the plays that was set up by was Maris Leofau's clutch sack on Joe Burrow. So, Leofau, he has the speed, he has the quickness. He'll make some more impact plays. He absolutely will. That being said, 2 things are true. I believe that Leofau is going to be something of a very, very strong impact player for the Cowboys going forward. But just like you can't replace Micah, you can't replace DeMarvion Overshown. Those are 2 unique talents. But I do believe that Leofau is going to do some damage now that he gets more snaps. It's just a matter of how quickly he can step into that role. And I'm interested to see how much of Demo's playbook package Mike Zimmer is going to attach to Marist. So I want to see if Mike Zimmer is going to make any changes based on the absence of Demo, if he's going to look at Leofau and say, you know what, this is what Overshown we had him doing, go out and run these same plays and these same packages. Probably won't be an equal impact because Demo, like I said, he's a unicorn. But look for Leofau to make an impact nonetheless.
There's a couple other players that went out in that game, and Cooper Beebe and CJ.
You don't say.
Yeah, right. I feel like every week just they drop like flies. How are they feeling? What is it looking like for those 2 guys for this week?
Well, we'll start with C.J. Goodwin. He's dealing with the hamstring injury. He was limited in practice these past couple of days, and saw him in the locker room. I mean, it looks like he'll play. I'd be, kind of shocked if he didn't, based on what I'm seeing in the locker room and just kind of what I'm hearing asking around. And I talked to him, and he said he feels fine, but it is a soft tissue injury, so that means I'm saying that to say he needs to get through today and tomorrow to make sure there are no, worsenings of that hamstring issue he's dealing with. And as long as everything goes fine, I expect him to take the field. Can't say the same for Cooper Beebe. Beebe remains in the concussion protocol. It is working against him that it's also a short week for he and the Cowboys. I said this after he suffered the concussion. I was in the press box, and when they finally did rule him out, which is a different question for me because if he cleared but got put back in, why'd you pull him back out after? I mean, not pull him back out, but after halftime you did another evaluation. I have questions there, but I'll leave that to the organization and the league to have that conversation because there's a floating question mark above my head about how that was handled. But I don't want to get anybody fined. So Cooper Beebe will likely not take the field because I don't think he's going to get cleared in time. He did not practice at all this week. I don't expect that he'll practice today. McCarthy said he's making progress, but when it comes to concussion protocol, it's not up to the team. It's up to the independent specialists and neurologists. So I would draw a line through Cooper Beebe, which means if that holds true, you're going to see Brock Hoffman taking center again and TJ Bass taking right guard.
Real quick, before I get to this Panthers game and get your opinion on what to watch for here, What's going on with Tyler Guyton? Because he was active in that game, but he only plays special teams, and I
Yep.
feel like no one has given us an explanation on this. But it seems like the rookie has been benched.
He's not been benched. They're just trying to get him to they're trying to get his body to work through everything that he has going on. Because let me tell you, and I've had these conversations with Tyler Guyton in the locker room, and he's detailed the list, and I do mean list of things that he's dealing with right now. He's dealing with an ankle sprain, mid and high. He's dealing with a knee issue. I think there's a sprain in there somewhere. He's dealing with the shoulder issue that was far from 100%. Even before the high ankle and the knee issue happened, he's just working through so much. And honestly, of all the names that we're talking about that have been on IR or are on IR or have missed multiple games, the fact that Tyler Guyton, based on everything that has happened to him injury-wise this year and my conversations with him, I'm actually floored that he has not touched injured reserve this season. So I say that to say, Steele, that you've seen him on special teams is them trying to just get him, keep him active however they can keep him active. He's not healthy enough, in my opinion. Not as of last week and maybe not of this week. We'll see how it goes in Carolina. Just not healthy enough to be out there at left tackle trying to protect the blind side of Cooper Rush, but healthy enough where they can keep from shelving him, because any reps for the rookie at this point is going to be beneficial. So they're just really trying their best to keep him on the field however they can. But no, he's not been benched. He's going to be your starting left tackle as soon as he's 100% healthy. It's just been a rough year for him. And I'll end on this, and we'll talk about the Panthers. I literally looked him in the face. This was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I said, Tyler, I gave you roses, rightfully so, for not taking any time off between rookie minicamp, mandatory minicamp, and training camp. And we all did, because we all said, oh, this guy's out there grinding, he's ready to go, he's ready to work, and all of that was fantastic. But then when you talk about the timeline of him going from his season at OU to pre-draft prep, and then you look at things like pro days and Senior Bowl and such and such, and now you go to rookie minicamp, and you go to mandatory minicamp. I said, this offseason to come, rest your body. Find the balance between staying sharp, working with our good friend Duke Manyweather, but also resting your body. His body has had zero rest in 2024, and I think that's why it's starting to wear down right now. So I do expect much, much better things from him in 2025 once he has that fatigue, that mental and muscle fatigue off of him.
Yeah, you mentioned Carolina a few minutes ago there, and the Cowboys going up against a team who was a laughingstock of the league earlier in the season, but not so much the last 3 weeks. They've been pushing some really good teams in Philly, right? Kansas City took Tampa to the brink in overtime, and now you get Dallas. They get Dallas at the crib where Bryce Young is playing a little bit better ball. What should we be watching for in this game, Pat?
Like you just said, Bryce Young, keep an eye on him. This isn't the same Bryce Young that was mentally kind of fractured prior to these past, 3 or 4 games. Something about Canales benching him and having that conversation with him just set the light bulb off. And he's been playing very confident football. He looks more – I'm not going to say he looks like peak Bryce Young, but he's playing much better than he ever has in his young NFL career. Chuba Hubbard is still doing things. You got Leggett. If Leggett doesn't drop that pass, then they upset the Philadelphia Eagles. You got Adam Thielen still doing some things. He's a hybrid tight end, wide receiver type guy from his years with the Minnesota Vikings. So I will say that this Carolina team is not the same Carolina team that the Cowboys faced last year at Bank of America Stadium. And unfortunately for Dallas, this isn't the same Cowboys team that Carolina faced at Bank of America Stadium last year. So keep an eye on Bryce Young and versus the Cowboys defense minus DeMarvion Overshown. What does that mean for Mike Zimmer's scheme? What does that mean for how he deploys Micah Parsons? Because Zimmer said, he kind of alluded to maybe he'll change up how he uses Micah Parsons. That kind of scares me because Micah was eating. And now, what does it look like if we overthink Micah and his role absent Demo, and also take the emotional component into it as well? That loss against the Bengals was so emotionally shattering on a short week. Can this defense shake off what happened on Monday, both in the win-loss column and with the loss of DeMarvion Overshown, which was just absolutely gutting to the locker room and also to the added leadership. Can they bounce back as a defense from all of that to go on the road against a super confident Bryce Young and talented offense that almost upset the Chiefs, almost upset the Bucks, almost upset the Eagles? They're going to have their hands full, but that's the question mark.
I got my eye on Rico Dowdle to see if he can make it 3 games in a row with 100 yards against arguably the worst rushing defense.
Give me the hat trick.
Yeah.
Give me the hat trick. But here's what I'll say. I think keep handing the ball off to Rico. He will eat. Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, Tyler Smith in that interior. They're going to do what they've been doing, which is playing very good football. Terrence Steele as well. Questions at left tackle, not sure what happens there. But I will say this. Counterweigh that, because this is another poor defense that the Cowboys should beat up on, but they just played the league's worst defense and only put 20 on them.
That's facts. I said the same thing this week. So
that's what I mean.
Something to watch.
That's what I mean. So just keep handing it off to Rico, and then just let that set up everything else. Probably definitely won't be a high-scoring game from the Cowboys component, so they're going to have to bottle up Bryce Young and those guys, keep them to maybe 14, 17 points, and that's your best chance for victory.
There you have it, man. This week's version of Scientific Method. Appreciate you, Pat. We'll let you go. Hopefully we have a better afternoon than we had this morning, brother.
Oh, man. Bring on Saturday the 14th.
My guy, we out here. Peace.